Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of the Blue Abroad Show, the virtual Blue Abroad Show. We're taking it back to, what was it, Pom? Mid-2019, we were doing virtual lives.
It seems a while ago. It was probably the last time Harry, McKay and Kerno lined up as well. That's how long the fans have waited for you and me.
Well, look, the two of us, we've had injury concerns. We've been managed. Some of us have slipped on tiles. Some of us have had things that have happened that are unfortunate. But, mate, good to have you back. It's good to have my yang.
Hey, it's good to have you back as well. I'm in the less responsible role this week, so enjoying it.
No, I thought you did a good job, mate. I thought you did a good job hosting. I know that you wanted to breathe some fire last week because it was very disappointing, to say the least, but I thought you did a very good job of just keeping it together. So welcome to you. And obviously, goes without saying, we've got a few thank yous to make. Shad from Assertive Media, he does all the behind-the-scenes footage for us, the big Shad daddy. We love him to death. Shad, thank you very much for your work. Shad runs a company called Assertive Media, guys. Don't forget, if you're looking to up your production for your companies, this is the guy to get in touch with. And the members of the channel. Now, I'm going to get Shad to put them across the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to read out the new members that have come in over the last week. Dynamic Hypnotic Jad Jauhari, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, Ben Chiavelli, Jason Terranova, Steve Orr, Brody Marston, Stefan Iliadis, and Lyndon Galea from Eat Up Australia, who's now a premiership member. So you guys are phenomenal. You guys are fantastic. What you guys do as members, and all of you that just watch the show and watch the content, is you allow things like the giveaways and the website, which is just launched. So, that gets paid for through you guys just supporting the channel. So thank you so very much. And Benny Dunn, my man, Benny Dunn from Be Like That Creative, he has created the website. And so very, very big ups to Benny. He's a dear friend of mine. And I'm just so grateful to have good people around me, including you, Pom, mate. So let's get into it. Talk to me, mate. We're going to do a quicker recap of the GWS game, because we've got a game tomorrow, mate. So talk to me.
Oh, wait, it was gash, wasn't it? Quick recap, gash. Pom word meaning rubbish. It was, I mean, we say it every week. Like, I'm just going to record this bit and just play you it back every week from now on. Tale of two halves. First half, there was intent there. I started believing in the second quarter as well that I was like, God, these boys look like they're dedicated. They want it. Like, we weren't playing well and neither were they, but it just felt like we wanted it a bit more. And I was like, this is good. This is finals football. And then obviously the fourth quarter went, and there was no intensity, no tackle pressure, dudes having a bit of a Friday afternoon jog. Yeah, I've already got angry about it. My wrist still hurts from talking to you. I don't know if I could relive it again.
Mate, you were breathing fire after the game. But no, there's a good point. Before I go on, Julian Vick, thank you for the $5. He says, keep up the good work, Terry, mate. Thanks, mate. No, Pom, and I think that obviously we did the fan cams after the game and there was a lot of emotion involved. And I think some things need to be set clear. I think everyone knows and feels that we've had relative improvement this year, and a lot of people before the year were saying, if we can climb into that top half of the bottom 8 this year to launch into next year, I think there is that, right? But in the moment, when the opportunity is there in the moment to make finals, to win that game, to win that quarter, when you're up at 3/4 time, you've got to allow for that reaction at the moment. You know what I mean? Like it was a short-term reaction. We're hurting because we're here to win games. That's what the fans are for. We're here to win. We're not here to, mollycoddle them. We're here to win games of football. And, we're going to go and move on this week. And it's all sort of settled down. But yeah, the fans have that sense of urgency that I think we want the players to have. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said it last week, hashtag we want it now. That's where I am. I think the biggest issue, and I was speaking with Let Dog on social media this week, saying to him, the problem we've got is our high is as good as anyone. But I was watching the game last night, and you see that when good teams have a low, it's still good enough to win. But when we have a low, our best to our worst is astronomical. It is astronomically bad. And that is the issue we've got. We can't have moments of switch off and win games. If we switch off, you've kicked 6 goals on us and it's game over. And West Coast last night showed that their best is brilliant and their worst, though, is enough to win a game. Like they were brilliant all the time against Essendon. The first quarter was very scratchy, but they could just get the job done. And that grinds you down. The problem is teams don't have to play 110% against us. They know Carlton will switch off for 10, 15 minutes. And when that happens, it's game over.
It's such a stitch up because we worked so damn hard to put ourselves in a position. And then within a matter of, I think David Teague used the phrase crucial contests. And I think it's a good one. Within a matter of 3 crucial contests, they kicked 3 goals from them. And then it was kind of like, oh, we put all this hard work in, it hasn't been enough. And they sort of, you could make the case that they sort of maybe dropped their heads a little bit. Some people think they don't know how to win, that there's a lot of opinions coming in all sorts of areas. But what is it for you? Because this is now what we're seeing is a trend. Now, this is where we're at. This is where we deserve to be. Why do I say that? Because this is what we've dished up. You get what you deserve in this game. You get what you deserve in life. So what is it for you and for you guys at home? What is the number one thing that's preventing us from going to the next level? And it's not a player. I want to ask for a theme. Pom, I'll start with you. And you guys at home, I'm going to read out some of your comments. Number one thing that is on the agenda for us to go to that next level.
I personally think it's game management. I think if you look when we're on top, we go arse for leather. We full go. And I think it's managing that so we can spread that out. Like you watch West Coast play when they're dominating against Essendon. It's spurts. It's 10 minutes go hard. Okay, they're completely packed up and gone home. Control the footy, slow down, take a breather while we have the opportunity. Then hit them hard again. For us, we take the initiative and there is no plan B. There is no slow the game down, get control of the footy. When you watch St Kilda play, they slow it down, get the ball in hand when the pressure comes. We don't do that. Our pressure relieve is boot the ball 60 metres down the wing and turn it over and start again. We don't have that control yet. And that comes down to a multitude of mindsets, just the ability to be in a position, take the shit and carry on again. So for me, it's definitely being able to have that plan B, take a bit off the game, slow it down, control the footy and back our skills in, because I feel like some players, and Walsh is the exception to the rule, don't trust themselves in shit in the bed. Like you can see it, like Walsh looks like he could play like that all day long. But then you give the ball to say someone like SPS and it's like they've never played footy before. And they're just panic kicking it through the corridor, the worst place to turn it over. So it's that mindset. And it's probably players like Walsh in another year when he's got 50 games behind him can say, Sam, calm it down, mate. Give me the ball and I'll fix it for you. So it's a little bit like that for me.
Game management. I like it. And I'll get to the people in a minute. I'll just leave you with this thought for you to come back at it, because at the start of the year, it was all about, guys, we've got to get the starts right. If we don't start games right, we're not going to give ourselves a chance. And it seems like it's fallen the other way around. So I'll let you stew on that for a bit. I want you to think about what's happened there. Have we swung the pendulum too much? But a lot of comments coming through. So for you guys who have just joined, welcome, hello. Looking for your number one thing that we need to focus on moving forward to take us to the next level. And it's not a player. So what is the theme? So Cadtrick says leadership. Joe Pace, mindset. Helena, the same, mindset. Wildy says psychological. Ari Stamatako says leadership or experience. Mindset from Jack Viola. Kyle says leadership. Peter Attard, reward for effort. Sam Di Benetto, coaches to help Teague. We have spuds, no other way to say it, guys. Sir Snaggan, not enough winners. Clutch Armali, the ability to finish teams. Luke Wakeling, PK, Thomastown Football Club, a legend. More depth in the midfield. Paul Cassar, recruiting and draft craft. Cadrick again, leadership. You can't train that. We must poach that in the trade period. I knew someone would bring up the trade period. It's just such a fascinating times. Where are we? Paul Barbaza, the will to win at all costs. Adam Allison, another year in the gym. Cadrick again, Hodge to the coaching panel. He's on fire. Anthony Leonello, goal kicking. Spencer Moore, fucking goal kicking. Simon Schuster, culture change, winning culture. Kano playing for 4 quarters. Nathan Thompson, leadership and confidence. Somer Young, toughness and mongrel. So I'm sensing themes of mental. Well, they're all mental, aren't they? That's if I had to summarize everything I've read, it's the mental approach. So the question begs, how do you do that? And let's make no mistake about it. Yeah, like the football club, well aware. I've been saying, I reckon I've said this 9 times since the game. Football club, well aware of this. Make no mistake about that. But this is just for us to just talk about and discuss. So what is step 1 to fixing it? Is it just reps? Is it experience? Is this year 1 of starting to be in games, and then year 2 we'll start falling over games a little bit more? What do you think, Pom?
Well, I think I can only talk from experience in a golf background. So when you have a golf pro and you're coaching them and they're psychologically not there, you see it quite a lot in the 4th round. That's like our 4th quarter. It's where good players step up and take the prize. You find that they've got to practice the way they play. So you've got to practice for them situations. So that's commonly in training for football. I'd imagine they'd bring kind of a risk reward program in game practice. So it's definitely putting yourself in them situations and going through the motions, having a mental checklist. I think that's something that you do. But also, I think in a team sport, you need players around you who have done them checklists themselves so they can show you as it's happening. So you look at Hodgie last year at Brisbane, in his last year of playing, you saw a lot of them tight games. Hodgie took control. I was going through the numbers, and it was a staggering 1 in every 2 games. Hodgie would be the leading possession getter in the 4th quarter. And you can see he gets the ball. He's like, right, okay, cool. We're struggling. Boys, follow me. This is what you do. You hit targets. You do this. And as that becomes repetitive, it becomes second nature. But you definitely see when we play and we're under the cosh, it's almost like it's a script. It's like we'll battle hard, we'll defend hard for 5 minutes when they've got all the ball, and then they'll finally break over. There'll be 2 goals uncontested out the back. And before you know it, we've gone from a 2-goal lead to 4 goals down. And it seems to be a pattern. And one of my mates made a video of my lives of me saying, we're going to learn a lot about the boys in this centre clearance and how they respond. And they literally just walk it out the centre clearance. And there's a big problem. It's almost like the intent dies. It's the fear of making a mistake. I personally think they're scared of making the mistake. And in the 3rd quarter, they're brave and expansive. When the pressure's on, they don't want to be that guy that Pom punches the desk on after the game saying he's a fucking flog. And I think that's it. I think psychologically, there's a lot of guys who are scared of that. And we need to change that mentality and give them the confidence to do it. Yeah.
It's an interesting point there. I didn't realize that stat about Hodgie. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the contest that is really, for me, the significant contest from that Giants game was the Jones, Williamson, you go, no, I'll shepherd, you go, no, I'll go, you shepherd. I think that is symbolic of what we're talking about. Who goes there? Is it Jones because he's the leader in terms of he's in the leadership group? Is it Willow because he plays with that aggressiveness? I don't know. Look, a lot of questions more than what we have answers. I want to get to the list and all of that a little later because I've got a really open-ended question that I want to pose to everyone. But I know that we lost the game. I know that I know that a lot of people don't like talking about the learnings and all of that because it doesn't come from a place of winning, and winning is on the agenda now. But is there enough to take away from that? Like, do we take solace in the fact that against all of these top 5, 6 teams, we've really taken it to them and put ourselves in a winning position when this time last year, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we lost 3 games by 10 goals or more last year, maybe 4. I don't think we've had that absolutely disastrous end result. I know the D's got miles ahead of us, but we did cut it back. I think we've stamped that out of our game. There's still 3 games to go, so you never know. The Lions or the Crows or the Swans could do it, but I think I'm looking for something. But you have to, because this is where we're at. What do you think?
I think I have no doubt in my mind we've got better. I think our best now is light years away from 20. If we go back to our last good year, 2016, where we started to show bits. It's a 17? Lot better. 17, sorry, yeah. Our best is a lot better than 17. It's a lot better. However, I would say our low is still the same. I'd say that's where the improvement hasn't. Our worst is just as bad as it was then. It's just our ceiling's so much higher. So for me, that's what worries me the most. We still make them same mistakes. And if you go back through 16, 17, 18, and games we've lost, you can see it's almost like micro what we saw in the 4th quarter against Collingwood, the 4th quarter versus GWS. It's still there, that kind of fear to make a mistake. And I think Helena Petrau, she summed it up brilliantly. She would rather them have a crack and lose than play within themselves and lose, because it does come across on TV like they can't be asked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm just going to correct you there for a moment, mate. Oh, you did it last week. It's Helena Petru.
All right, well, she's just called Hell from
the Greek goddess. No, I heard it last week. I heard it last week, and I'm like, that's where I know the Greek surname and where it pops in.
Well, I did warn everyone that if your name was more complicated than Dave, you were in strife. So I mean,
yeah, no, but it's a good point. It's a good point. I think you've made there. So let's get some comments before we move on to the votes. Let's see how we go. Adam Allison, lost by 9 points to a grand final side, and we're livid. Our expectations have increased greatly. This is all good. Tim Wilkes, we need to uplift our worst performances so the gap between our worst and best is much less. Alan Jean's mantra. Hamish, yo, what's happening? Tanush, hello. Hamish, I'm as depressed as Freo fans. Afternoons kicks the goal. Chin up, mate. Simon Schuster, our injury list was rated the 2nd biggest for experience in games lost behind North. This is an underrated fact. Heath Buck, dumb footballers don't learn. Oh, I've lost his comment. Where is it? Heath Buck says, dumb footballers don't learn, never will. Wean them out and replace with smart players. We will grow. Paul Barbazza, we still can't stem the flow of goals against us. 4 to 6, too many. Kenneth, don't understand why the Blues are after Zach Williams as a mid. Chuck the sink at Taranto or Wines. Jerry White, still need top-end talent. Brodie Johnston, we need to have intent to win more, I reckon. Angelo Gravina, why can't Ramsey and O'Brien get a game? I think we'll get to them for sure. I think we will definitely get to them for sure. So I love it after a win when we do notables and votes because, you know, there's just too many positives. And then after a loss, we struggle to give a vote. We almost do just a player of the game. But do you have your 3, your 2, and your 1 handy? I didn't ask you before the show. What have you got? I do.
Always prepared, my friend. Always prepared.
Go for it. And you guys at home, if you can, I feel like it was a lifetime ago because we've got a game tomorrow, but it wasn't. It was only 4 days ago. Who were your votes in the end?
Well, for me, I'm going to give 1 vote to the legend that is Will Setterfield. I really enjoyed his intent. I thought in the 4th, he was one of the few that still looked like he was actively trying to wrestle the game back in our favour. And I'm judging them on the 4th quarter, really, the guys that really shone for me. And I thought he did his role and really did scrap hard and was unlucky to be on the losing side of the game. My 2 votes goes to Ed Kerner. Again, in my video review, we commented on players that really upped the ante in the 4th, and he is our leading 4th quarter player this year. with his output, and I thought that was really important for us. He gives us that steady reliability. And I thought 3 votes, and for me, it's scary. And this is where the problem is with the club. Sam Walsh, again, I thought in the 4th quarter, he looked the most assured and confident player and looked like he was going to make something happen. So they were my 3, 2, and 1.
Yep, love it. I've gone a little different. I actually gave Doc 1 vote. Reason was because his intercept marking was there going into the game, and this was probably the 4th or 5th week in a row where I was talking about I'm watching our leaders. And I actually thought from a leadership perspective, and when the moment came, can you stand up? I thought Doherty took a step forward in that game. So I gave him the vote. I gave 2 to Jacob Wiedering. I thought he played like a captain. His job on Jeremy Cameron, particularly in the first half, was unbelievable. Jeremy Cameron, I could be wrong. I believe he didn't have a mark in the first half, and I think he had a handball, and I thought Wieders was solid. And I gave Walshy the 3. I mean, we're talking about a recently turned 20-year-old kid who normally you just let them enjoy their footy before you put them into leadership roles and put the pressure on them. But I can't speak more highly enough of him. I don't think any of us can. And as Carlton supporters, one thing we don't want to get too, we can get sucked into focusing on the individuals as opposed to the team. But I just think the way he's playing, the way he's accepted the role, grown into the role, now he's kicking goals. I just think he needs all the plaudits he gets because, not many out there outside of the Carlton bubble want to give them to him. So, I just wanted to share my little piece on Sam Walsh as I get to the votes for everybody else. Josh Dolan, 2 to Murph, 3 to Walsh. I'm 1 to Wieders. Luch Rizza, 3 to Walsh, 2 to Wieders, 1 to Jones. Ari, 3 to Walsh, 2 to Wiedering, 1 to Ed. Debbie O'Connor gave Ed, Doc, and Walsh her votes. I don't know what order that was in. Helena, 3 to Walsh, 2 to Wiedering, 1 to Doc. Sean Costello, Wiedering, 3, Walsh, 2. Setterfield, 1. Scotty Gawley, 3 to Walsh, 2 to Ed, Mr. Consistency, and 1 to Setters. Lauren Hegarty, Wieders, Ed, and Walsh. Neck Minute, love the name. 3 to Walsh, 2 to Wiedering, 1 to Kerno. Shad Daddy, Walsh 3, Wheatbix 2. Setters 3, Dan Andrews 1. Dan Andrews 0. Good Shad.
I was hoping to get to that.
I fluffed. I fluffed it. I didn't read it right. Luch Rizza, boys, I'm an SPS fan, but if Darren Paulson make way due to form, how does he keep his spot? We'll get to that. I want to wrap up the votes. That's done. The game is done. We can now move on. The very unique situation that we are in is that we have a game tomorrow. We have changes which aren't normally there. And so, I guess we need to just move on. So we play tomorrow night. There were 4 changes. Plowman came in. Matt Always comes in for his debut. Cunningham comes in. And TDK comes in for Betts, for Pitternet, for Paulson, and for Paddy Dow. So, Pom, I'll ask you first. What did you think of the changes? And you guys at home, what did you think of the changes?
I like them. I like them, and I question one, but I do like them. I think it's a positive change. I can see why Cunners has come in. I think you can't argue with always. He's been kicking goals for fun. What is it now? Just over 2 goals a game in the reserves. Like, if you can't get into the side with that, like, why are you even here? Like, what's the point of playing him? So for me, I'm excited about that. It's going to be very intriguing to see what goes. For me, the one that I do question, though, is SPS. He reminds me a little bit of, like, do you remember the first year of Bolton? And he kept picking Paulson, and then he kept picking Mullet. Like, every year, he had, like, his favourite. And Aaron Mullet was my favourite one, played 18 games and then was delisted. It's weird how he keeps getting a game, because I thought last week he was by far our worst. And I'm surprised Paulson would have been got rid of before him. I'm intrigued with Eddie Betts. I've got a little Pom theory. Do you think he's going to play against Adelaide and announce his retirement and say goodbye to both great clubs and both been a servant for both clubs. Do you think that that's what that's set up for, a big Eddie Betts day out? There's a lot of rumours saying he's thinking about canning it.
Maybe. I want to actually unpack the themes, because I think with 4 changes, there's 3 or 4 different themes. I want to start with what you started with. Let's start with Paulson. So I'm a big advocate for him playing the last 2 games. The reason why I say that is if he's going to show this role that we now know that he's playing across half-back, providing run and spark and carry and kicking ability, I'm happy that he got the games against Collingwood and the Giants, because let's be dead clear now. The agenda is winning now. So if we want to make sure we get players who can do it when it matters. I thought he did okay. If I'm going to be cutthroat, I just don't think he's good enough to compete against the top 6 sides in the competition. And if he's not, and most people, if they're not able to do that, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, we need to start saying, hey, you're either good enough or you're not. It's binary. We're here for a premiership. I don't know if that mentality is shared. I don't know if that's something the club thinks. This is just my opinion, but I just don't know what we do with Paulson. If they give him another year, I don't know if he's shown enough, but there's that. The next one is Samo, because he obviously Dale Amos did a fantastic interview on the Blues Footy podcast with Jed and Harrison, which I thought was great. It was so good to get real fan engagement and understand what's going on and giving the fans that exclusive insight into those roles. I think the club did a great job of doing that for us, and they should be applauded for that. But I'm just not seeing a spark. He's not playing with an energy. Yes, he's not getting 4 goals kicked on him. I don't watch him play at the moment and see a guy that's playing with a spark. What do you think?
I think SPS reminds me a lot of Dow. And do you remember when we started pilloring Dow round the houses? He's still not got his confidence back from when we did that. And I think SPS, he looks like a man to me that, and I could be wrong, I don't know SPS, but for me, every minute the game goes past, I can feel his confidence sapping. And I think what's hard for me as a fan is there's no doubt, based on his first couple of years, SPS's ceiling was A grade. And as demonstrated in the Doggies, when he had that absolute game where he blew them apart. But now I'm starting to worry, is his ceiling B grade? It feels like it is. And I think when I look at Cam Paulson as well, I don't think he's A grade. I don't think he ever will be. And I think if you spoke to him, he would admit that. He's always going to be a 6 out of 10 player, 7 out of 10 at max. I'm worried now with SPS. Is that where his ceiling is? Because we haven't seen it all season and it's getting worse. Like, he was so ineffective in them last 2 quarters. To me, it's a concern because one of his strengths was his ability to accumulate at the ball. And that seems to be going rapidly.
I did something that I regret this morning. Someone sent me the Western Bulldogs game from 2019, the game where he had 25 at halftime. Someone sent it to me and I watched the highlights and I watched him play. It was probably a good timing. And then I went back and read his draft profile. And I put the faith in the coaching staff and all of that, but you just get the feeling. There's just this feeling of it's just not working at the moment. Dale Amos, and I trust him as well, he said, this is the role we've outlined for him. They've acknowledged the fact that he might need to take a step back to go forward. I just hope it works more than what I'm sure it works. And I'll back him in. I mean, I don't know any better, but there's strong opinions either way. And I just want Samo back. I don't care if he's playing as a defender. I honestly don't. I just want him to play with that spark and that energy that he had up until round 2. That's what I want personally.
I mean, for me, and I'm not in the coach's box, so they might see something totally different in training, but I watch him play and I just think he's a natural replacement for Murphy. He's elite delivery by foot. He was tricky and evasive. He was really good in tight situations. And I just think he should be playing where Murphy is. Right now, we should be having the conversation, is it time for Murphy to retire? Because SPS is getting 20 touches going at 70% and entering inside 50 for banter. And he doesn't look like that. He doesn't even look like he's enjoying it. One thing about Samo was he had them beaming smile. It looked like he was having fun out there. And like that first year, do you remember when he kicked his first goal? He looked like he was having a laugh. It looked like he was kicking the footy in the park. You could see there was a joy. And now it looks like it's a job. And that worries me because maybe the club see something different to us. But for me, I don't think he's a defender. I think he's a mid. But
yeah, look, this just might be because it is his job, and there is going to be times where, you know what, it's not fun anymore. I've got a job to do, and maybe this is just an adjustment period. And in a year from now, 2 years from now, we'll look back and say, when he's figured it out off the halfback flank, okay, that was just a lull. But I don't want to jump to conclusions. So that's the other one. The Tom de Koning inclusion, I'm really happy with it. I don't know about you. I think it's a lot of us said before the season started that. I in particular said, I'll quote myself rather than quoting others. I said, I just want to see TDK push for selection second half of the year, and then round 1, 2021, in you come. And it seems like that is coming true. And I think that needs to be highlighted because I think that's a big tick for him, for the development coaches and whatever we've got around him, that he's been able to show enough that we are all now saying, get this kid in. What do you think?
I'm a big fan. I am a big fan of TDK. I think he's definitely our future. He's definitely the modern day ruckman. If you look at all the guys that are in vogue at the moment, Timmy English, your Grundys, your Gorns, that they're athletic, they're like Reiki type players. And he looks exciting. He definitely moves around the ground well. He's fit, he's quick. He suits this game style, more importantly. I really like it. I'm never a fan, though, and just call me, maybe it's PTSD, but of Cruiser, of him getting a lot of game times on his own at times with people pinch hitting. I kind of do like the protection of Pitternet there to take, especially when he gets a hard situation on the ball. Sydney are quite ruthless. Obviously, this year, though, they haven't really got any ruckman. Cal Sinclair's by no means a great ruckman himself. So it's probably a good matchup for him, and I think as much game time as we can feed the bloke till next year, I think it might help the club push Cruiser into retirement, into some kind of development role. It's really exciting because he is exciting, and he's another one who plays the game with a smile on his face. He looks like he's having fun out there, and you believe he's enjoying it, and he does look like he can make something happen. Big fan for TDK. Yep. Like him. I like him in.
I get your comments about having 2 ruckmen in there, and I've liked at times the TDK and Pitternet duo. I think moving forward, particularly when we're talking about Charlie Curnow being in the side next year, I'm mindful of the 2 ruck combo impacting the forward structure personally, and that might be premature, but that's just my gut feel at the moment. I just think it gets in the way. But having said that, there's a bloke behind you who I haven't seen in this system for long. So I do want to see that before I jump on that. I jump to a conclusion.
Well, I mean, the bloke behind me, you're talking the single most dynamic forward in the competition. And for me, this is something that I am super excited about. I think when this bloke returns, the prodigal son, you're going to see a total difference because he is someone who makes something happen, even with shit entries. So for me, that combination then, it poses the question, who is the second ruckman? Because Curnow, you don't want to waste in the ruck. Are you going to put McKay back in the ruck to pinch hit? McGovern can't ruck. So, I mean, it's going to be an intriguing one because this guy is probably one of the few walk-up starts at the football club. For me, pound for pound, the best forward in the comp.
Speaking of pound for pound, we put a little something together.
What we're talking about.
McGregor, baby. Rafe in Tune has made a $2 donation, and he says, so ultimately, does Pitto have a future in the club? I think he does. I mean, let's take what he has said. He said in an interview recently that the club told him he'd be playing something like 7 games, and the rest would be if he's there to earn more. So I've got no issue with him being on the list, pushing the guys above him for selection. I think in an ideal world, Tom de Koning is the number one ruckman with Pitto just there in case he needs to be there. So
well, for me,
that's interesting.
Who are big, burly, the type of guy that if they were playing country football would work the doors at your nan's bingo. So players like Mumford, you've got Mumford, and then you've got bigger ones like Riley O'Brien, Sean Darcy, who looks like if he wasn't a footballer, he'd open doors for the Adams family. So you need players like Pitternet to go against them because genuinely athletic ruckmen aren't very good. So I think Pitternet for me will always get 7 to 8 games a year as a dual ruck against these bigger, stronger ruckmen that tend to bully them. And if you watch Western Bulldogs, these bigger ruckmen have field days against Timmy English. They bully him, and they don't have a replacement like we do, where Pitternet can come in and stifle Mumford for a bit. So I definitely think he can get 7, 8 games every year, lock him in. I like Pitt.
Yep. Let's do something we don't usually do on the Monday show because the game's usually in the weekend in the future and we don't know the changes. Let's talk a little bit about the Swans. I was sure that they were going to lose to Melbourne because I thought Melbourne had a lot more to play for. I look at the way that they've played at times this year. I think they've been a little. I think no matter whether they've won or lost or how the game has looked, they've always they grind. It stems from the Bloods culture. I look at their coaches box. You got Horse, you got Jared McVeigh, you got Dean Cox. There's another name that I'm missing in there, and I look and I say, okay, well, I know they're going to be very much well prepared. I'm not taking them lightly at all. So I know, Pom, we've both done previews, so I'll get a quick one from you before I get to everyone at home. Guys, what do you think about the Swans game tomorrow? What is your gut feel? What's what are the themes and thoughts coming into your mind, Pom?
Well, for me, they're a very elusive team, very direct. I mean, really, on paper, you can't separate both of these sides. So you look at them, and everything that says with the stats is almost neck and neck, particularly in the last 5 games. The advantage we have on scoring's gone. They're very tricky to do. They're very tricky. They don't let you play a free-flowing football, and they look to hit you out the back. They're very direct. So really, they're kind of like the Antichrist against Carlton. If you built a model that is everything that we're scared of and the way we're playing, you'd probably build Sydney's because they don't let you play. They don't let you have time on the ball. They're very quick to move the ball. They love meterage games. So it's going to be a tough one for the boys for me. It's going to be a real... We talk about Teague saying everything's a lesson. We learn. And we come out the next week with them lessons. If they've learned anything from 2 weeks, they will beat this side because they're going to have to impose their game plan and they're not going to be allowed to play their game plan. They're going to have to enforce it and be physical. And you look at teams that have done well against them, they've basically controlled the footy and made them play our way, which is a Teague quote. I dropped it in. So cheers, Teague. But yeah, for me, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, when you've got a forward line that's coached by Stevie Johnson as well, you see it. They've got a lot of nimble footballers.
There's the other name as well. Steve Johnson in that coach's box. John Blakey that Sam Di Benedetto's just reminded me of. So there are some great masterminds in that box.
And you see a lot of Stevie J about their small forwards, particularly Papley. He's a niggler. He winds you up. He flops. He gets under your skin. And then while you're complaining about it, the dickhead goes and gets 2 goals in 5 seconds. So this team is one of them teams as well that kicks in clusters. And we don't like that. Like once you get a 3-goal run on you, you know a lot about our side. So it's a real danger game. And I'm excited because it's where we can step up. They're going to make it tough. One positive, though, one of the most inside 50s wasted in the comp, Sydney Swans. And we froth a turnover goal. So there is plenty of opportunity for the old turnover ball from Carlton.
Yeah, no, I get you for sure. Who, before I ask that question, let me get to some comments. Nick Mussolino. Casbolt Murphy, in my opinion, need to be let go, make way for some more youth. Simo Betts to follow end of 2021. He's gone the younger of the two before the older of the two. Rocco, my man Rocco. I agree. Kennedy for sure. As Rocco's rant will be back. Hopefully it's a happy rant after the game. He says Kennedy for sure. As I said, like to see him rotate through the middle. I think I've missed a thread somewhere there. Where are we? MP63AU. They will flood our forward line and leave the Pagans paddock open. Sam Dibenetto, damn it, doing well with his name. Helena says we love a bit of a transition turnover goal. Where are we? George Stella, I think the Swans will struggle with our tools up forward. Well, I bloody well hope so, George, because I know that we can get ourselves into scoring positions. I just don't know if we can kick straight at the moment. Gox 93, we need to pile on early and quick because, as we have seen, teams get momentum against us and can pile 4 or 5 quick ones. We need to stifle them from the beginning and put them on the back foot. Michael Dean, Swans game is a danger game. They seem to have clicked during the past few weeks. Stefan Iliadis, Sydney like to throw numbers behind the ball. If our defending holds up on the rebound like it did those first 3 quarters last week, it's just about converting in the forward line. Now, Terrence Stella, any chance we can lower our eyes this week? Something else I'm mindful of is this is now the 3rd game in a row. It's a very short turnaround. I even thought the energy was a little lackluster, just naturally from both sides in the GWS game. So I expect the Swans and us to both have a little less energy. And you spoke about game management before, Pom. I think that is paramount tomorrow. I think we're both going to have our spurts, and the team that makes the most of it will put themselves in that best position. So I don't see us playing helter-skelter, kamikaze football for 4 quarters. I don't think that's a realistic expectation for this group in this 3rd game in, 3 games in 9 days, 10 days, 11 days, I think it is. So there is that, but that doesn't excuse decision-making. That doesn't excuse structure. That doesn't excuse execution for me. That's the key for me tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just to answer that point that gentleman said about go early, for me, I think that's part of our problem. I think part of game management for me is I'd like us to go intermittently. So not go gear 6 straight out of the blocks, because that means they're going to have to go gear 6 at some point later in the game to get back into it. So for me, I'd like to see us have a little bit of control. This side is a good side to play if you're tired, because they're not a particularly quick side. They don't look to move the ball quickly at all. They're not a fast-paced tempo side like your GWS. They're very slow and controlled, and they do everything controlled. Like, you've had 2 people say they flood the forward line, they flood the back line. It's true. They're both right. That's what they do. They edge up the ground, they stay there, and then they slowly amble back down. It's like going for a walk with your nana. It's just like a little amble. So it's, for me, I want to see us control the game. The only way you beat these guys is you dictate the tempo. You say, right, we're going hard now. Right, we're slowing down. Right, we're controlling the footy. So it's literally having a bit of control. And I'd like to see a professional performance with us being the dickheads in the last 5 minutes that run over the top of them. I'd like us to have a role reversal this week. Yeah,
I thought we played that tempo footy against the Gold Coast Suns. I think we took 93 marks or something like that. I think there's something in that game that I hope we bring tomorrow. So, yeah, the other one we haven't spoken about at length is young Matt Owies, the basketballer, the true baller. What a story. He gets his crack tomorrow. He's been ripping it up in the scratch matches, and I understand they're not real. There's an element of they're not real games and all of that. But the reality is, with what he's got, he's performing in the same way that they speak about the others performing who have then gone on to get games. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for him. I think tomorrow, and I think he'll be fresh compared to the rest of the bodies because he hasn't played. They didn't have a scratch match last week. I could be mistaken on that. But I think we've got him to come in with a bit of energy. I think we're looking for anything to latch on in terms of a spark. I think he can provide that. Dare I say it? I know I've been saying it every week, Pom, in our texts. If Cripper can just kick a goal this week, he can spark something with the group. I think they'll get around him just to get the monkey off the back. I'm I'm confident. I think this is a non-negotiable win for us personally. We all wanted 3 wins out of the 5. It looks like that might be a bit tough to do. I think the next 2 weeks are just, we've got to be winning them.
Oh, for me, I think there'll be an element as well that if I was Nick Austin, I'd be wanting to put this club in the shop window of these 3 games. So finish the year strong, so up 10th, 9th, and then I'd be able to go into the meeting room in a negotiation with a player and say, we were 2 wins short of finals. We believe you're a 4-win player. So we believe with you, we would have finished top 6. So, it's something that unfortunately Sauce never had the benefit, because Sauce was saying you're a 10-game goal winner. Do you know what I mean? Sauce never had that luxury. So if we can get ourselves in that 10 and above, really says we're a young list, an exciting list, 22.8 average age if you take away Betts, Simpson and Murphy. Very young side. We need you, and you will be jewel in the crown to get us in the 8. So for me, still a lot to play for. Mathematically, we can still make finals. We need probably to be able to find a golden egg and hatch a dragon, but maths-wise, we can make it. So for me, yeah, definitely go hard, win these, and literally underline why you come to Carlton. Be able to say to Tom Papley, you want to come here? You make us top 4. And it gives us strength as well if Owies does play well for me, because then we can go into a trade negotiation and say, we've got Owies, we've got Honey. Papley, we want him. We don't need him. Where before Sauce has gone to these and been like, please sign for my football club. Please, I need you. It'd be nice to go into these trade negotiations with a bit of I don't give a fuck.
Mate, I could not agree with what you have said more. I'm serious. A lot of comments this week about play the kids, put them in, Philp, Honey, every single one of them. No, it's winning. We need to win, because you're right. We need to instill winning habits, winning culture, winning feeling. And when we go into the off season, we need to say, hey, you are just what we're missing. I really liked your little monologue there. I was captured by it.
Thank you. I tell you, I mean, if Papley wants me to negotiate his contract, I'll do it. Few comments in here saying I called him that dickhead. I'll personally apologise to him if he wears navy blue next year. But he'll always be that dickhead when he plays for another club. Exactly
right. We're here to compete. Let's move on. We've got about, what have we got? 10 or 12 minutes. Fan questions. So I've got some that were sent in before. If you want to send in some now, I've got Facebook first. I'm going to also look now on the Instagram. So stand by with me for a moment, please, as I get these up. The first one is, he's got 2 questions. Joe Pace. The first one is kind of already been asked. He said, it's obvious that Carlton's main issue is their mindset. How do we rectify this issue? The other one was, and this is probably a question to everyone. So everyone, this is for you. Carlton can only add 1 player during the trade period. Who do they add and why? Now, obviously, we can add more, but I think what he's basically looking for is, who is the number 1 target for you? Whether it is a type of player or a specific name. What is your number 1 target?
For me, I think that I wouldn't give a name, but for me, looking at the profile of our list and based on every side in the last 20 years that's won a flag, it's definitely 4 to 5, 23 to 28-year-olds with a minimum of 70 games played, and really bring in that core age and make sure that at least 4 of these are close to A grade as possible. So you're looking for your diamonds in your rough. You like your butlers that you know can do it any given day. So for me, that's what I would be looking at. I think you need to be looking at your old players and looking for them replacements. So we definitely need someone to step up and replace Murphy. We need, in my opinion, 2 Eddie Betts, whether that's internal or whether that's they're already at the club and we need to get them out on the park. Definitely need a halfback, and that would be my shopping list. But for me, if you held a gun to my head and gave me a name, controversially, I would be selling the farm for Josh Kelly.
No, I like it. I like it. Andrew Perrin says, I don't understand the disgruntlement with Eddie among you blokes. and many fans and suggestions he retire. All I see when I watch the Blues is a bloke bringing brilliant forward pressure, lifting his teammates and kicking the odd goal and doing the occasional act of brilliance. Without him, we will be a much lesser side. I hope he plays on one more year. Good on you, mate. That's a good comment. I don't think I want him to retire. I just think I want someone to come. I want someone to come and replace him and force him out. That's what I want.
I don't think anyone said we want him to retire. I said we speculated there is rumours he is going to be retired. But
yeah, okay. So the same names are popping up. We've got Degoe that's popped up here from Patrick Milani. I know you're a big fan of Degoe, Pom. Tanush says we should have got Butler last year. Yep, yeah. Probably. Adam Allison, Zach Williams. I want to see if I can find a new one. Paul Barbaza says Clayton Oliver, Josh Kelly, end of story.
Yeah, Josh Kelly, imagine the song. Josh Kelly.
Josh Kelly running down the wing.
You can't do that with Tom Papley as well.
No, that's true. A Petrarca tight from Sam Di
Come on, Terry. God.
Di Benedetto. I'm sorry. Di Benedetto. I'm very sorry, Sam. A Petrarca type. Yes, I agree. I like it. Jai Simpkin says Lockie Bright. Speaking of, that was our winner of the Guernsey. Lockie Bright. There he is right there. He won the new Guernsey.
Because he's totally fucked over about 28 of my multis this year, so piss him off.
Mate, watch the game. Watch the game, not the odds, my friend. Debbie says, anyone except from the maggots. I'm assuming she's talking in regards to Collingwood players. Interesting. Ferro one says Jack Viney. Nathan Oliveri says Andrew Gaff. Here are some new names. These are good to see. Bryce Richards, a premiership player, someone with experience. Yeah, agreed. I want to bring up the Luke Hodge conversation because it was asked a lot in the Instagram DMs. Probably 30% of the questions had reference to him. Yes or no, Luke Hodge, whether it's an assistant coach, senior assistant coach, development coach, culture coach, I look at him personally, I hear his voice on the broadcast, it makes me bleed because it's like, I want that aura, I want that voice in our change room. And I don't know if I'm in the minority. So what do you think? Pom, first for you, and then you guys, what do you think at home? Are there any assistant coaches out there that you want to throw up as well?
For me, if I had any influence on the club, Solomon and Hodge would be on speed dial now. Like, Solomon's got a reputation as one of the best relationships with players as well. He's got a really positive feedback. Big loss due this week, confessed he did everything he could to stop the club getting rid of him. It was a big loss. He's really impacted them boys. We're a young list. So for me, I don't care. He used to be a bomber. Get him in.
Yeah, same. I agree. I don't care about that at all. That shouldn't be an issue anymore.
I mean, the way I feel is if God himself came down and said, Dan, James Hird comes to Carlton win 9 out of the next 10 flags, I'd be like, get James Hird, bring him. I need him. Like, that's where I am. We need these boys to be there. But Hodge, for me, he's been there. He's gone from a young Hawthorn list. He's seen the progression. He's seen what it takes. He's been at the top. And then he's pissed off and he's gone to Brisbane and he's seen their progression from where we are now, 12 to 13, to suddenly jumping in the 8 and into finals. He's lived it. He understands the game of footy. I agree with Jay Talbot as well. If we cut Hodge, Voss is another one. Someone like that who's not afraid to tell it how it is. I feel like a lot of these players have got a lot of the voices that us fans use, and they've got too many people who are saying, it's okay, it's all right, you've still got your good looks and you tried. We need someone sometimes to say, mate, what you just did there was fucking atrocious. Sort your life out. And I think Hodge and Voss are these players that will say that and also have the respect. Like, if you're a Paddy Dow and John Barker tells you to try hard, you'll be like, what the fuck have you done with your football career? But Hodge, you can't argue with it. Do you know what I mean? Hodge can take you around his house and say, look at these medals. You'll never see that many medals. So Solomon again as well, big hard man. So for me, all day long, yes. Bring me Hodge, bring me Dean Solomon. Hashtag, we want it now.
Own the now, as Heath Buck coined it. I remember when we were talking about the coach last year, who was it going to be? I love the name Voss. I love what he's done at Port. The other thing with him and Hodge that I think they both have, which is very key, is they know how to communicate and relate to the current generation. I think Teague does it really well. Teague has an ability to get on a level where he's got respect. He speaks to them, they listen, they respect him. You can tell they try for him and they want to play for him. I think he does really well with the young generation, which is now a factor. The drill sergeant isn't so much of a it's easier said than done to just bring a drill sergeant in. But I'm with you, and this isn't a disrespectful ping at any of the assistant coaches. They've all done a wonderful job. They're professionals and I respect them all, but I'm here to win flags. And if I can get premiership experience in that box at the expense of whoever else has been there for X amount of years now, then I'd be looking at it personally. And this is coming from us who don't have all the information at our disposal. But what we do know is that that coach's box is lacking winners.
Oh, 100%. You've got to think about it from a player's point of view. If Voss is telling you what to do, he's won everything there is to win in the game. Hodge has won everything there is to win in the game apart from a Brownlow. He's been best on ground in a final. He's captained a side in a grand final. How can you argue with it? So for me, there it is. For me, we haven't, even David Teague didn't win anything. Do you know what I mean? Of note, like he won what? Best player at the club? Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure if you ask David Teague, would you rather be best player at your club or have won a grand final and starred in the grand final? All players would rather do that. You hear Nat Fife talk about Joel Brownlow would rather be a single flag winner. Like that's the top of the tree. That's what they're all aiming for. And I'm sure if you ask Cripps, would you rather win a Brownlow or win two flags? He'd rather win a flag.
Yeah.
For me, that's
mate. Winning mindset, winning mentality, winning culture. It's. I think it's going to be a hot word in 2021, and I'm excited. I'm excited for. I don't want to get caught up in the future too much. We've got 3 important games coming up, but yeah, I think these conversations are hard conversations to have because they can be done in spite, but I think they're important, upfront, honest conversations to be having. I think it's just a must, but we'll see what happens. 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap it up. Joey Silvera says, "Where's Stocker?" Stocker is personal issues. Obviously, we wish him all the best. We haven't got much of an update. He put an Instagram post up, I think it was a week ago now, just sort of saying, I mean, I'm summarizing, but it was basically, he's okay, all good, can't wait to repay the faith. So I look forward to that. And there's a little bit of an asshole that we need in this side, Pom. Liam Stocker, there's the forgotten man, and obviously, you know, Charlie behind you and Newman to come in. This is my other question before we wrap up. We all want to talk about trading, players, draft picks, get winners in, understood, all of that. I had a really good chat with Tim from the Prendercast for Carlton People today, and we had a good discussion about it. And, you know, we've gone to the draft, we've picked these players that we want to build the list with, right? How do you balance your notion of, no, these kids are going to be the premiership side, and we've got to add talent now, pay overs for a player like Papley, for example, now, at the expense of the development of the guys that we've picked? I think it's all easy to be a list manager here as a fan, but it is a difficult job. You want to back yourself in, but you also want to make the right decision.
Well, I mean, I think even blind Charlie could see that which of these youngsters will be part of it. And I think anyone who's concerned about trading young players away for ready-made talent, the fact is history doesn't really change. If you look, especially in sport, the last 20 years, every side has done the same thing to win a flag. Every side has had the similar list makeup. The only exception being Brisbane in 2000. They did it kind of a little bit more with a younger side, but everyone else has followed the same pattern. Now, for me, we have to bring in at least 3 or 4, I'd say 3 minimum best 22 players in that age bracket. That's a no-brainer. And I would hope everyone's on that page. And I think outside of that, though, it's bringing in players like Nunes is a perfect squad player. A player, if you do have an injury to best 22, can step up and own it and maybe displace that person like Nunes has. So for me, 5 players this draft camp, this trade period, we're laughing because we have got the talent there. We just now need the glue that holds it together. At the moment, we've got the wonderful pieces all on the field. We're just lacking that glue, that beautiful holding material that will win us a game.
Yep. Awesome. Great discussion. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been good. I think it's always good. I love the show on a Monday. So, yeah, they're good conversations to have. Man, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We got all sorts of things happening. We've got the pre-game show with Jed and Harrison. If you guys haven't followed them on Twitter, I suggest you do that right now. They are amazing. 2 up-and-coming guys. They just work hard. They're just good guys. Go check them out. So they'll be doing the pre-game show tomorrow. Fan cams are back afterwards, so I'm looking forward to seeing you guys after the game. It's either going to be therapy or it's going to be basking in the glory and all positive. But, yeah, have a great night, guys. Thanks so much for tonight. And, Pom, love you. Go the Mighty Blues.
Go Blues.